Hello and welcome to Coding with GPT. My name is Sanjin, and in this video we're going to discuss the implications of AI being confidently wrong. Specifically, what that means for us when we're relying on AI to help us with code. So one survey by GitHub that came out recently got me thinking about this a lot. Essentially, they asked 2,400 GitHub Copilot users, hey, what was your experience? And 96 reported that they were faster performing repetitive tasks. 88% said they were more productive overall, and yet only 60% said they were more satisfied with their job, and 59% that they were less frustrated coding. So if you read between the lines, there are some people that, despite being more productive, despite getting rid of the drudgery, they are less satisfied and more frustrated when it comes to coding with AI. And what I'm trying to find out is why. I actually want to ask you guys the same question. So you could pause the video and answer that in the chat. It's something that's totally worth speculating about and trying to get to the bottom of. And in this video, I'm going to share my experience of when I got completely sidetracked, majorly frustrated by AI. So I've had 2 live streams, and both of them have had a couple of spectacular failures. I'll go through the examples of both. So this first one, I asked ChatGPT with Wolfram Alpha a coding problem that I created 2 years ago for a coding competition that involved cicadas. So cicadas are insects that emerge a prime number of years. So we had a group that emerged every 17 and a group that emerged every 13 years. And you had to write a program that would predict the years when these two would emerge again, and even tell us, how many times that would happen this century or next century or so on. And let me transition to this. The answer I got out of ChatGPT and Wolfram Alpha, but basically ChatGPT did most of the calculations here when you look into it, was there will be 3 emergences in this century. And it all stemmed from it framing the question in a wrong way and counting emergences after the next emergence. But the way the question was presented, the way that I read it, in a live stream, I was like, yeah, this is correct. That's great. And later that day, I edited the video and just released the Wolfram Alpha portion of the live stream and still didn't pick up the mistake until somebody pointed it out in the chat. And so, again, the more impressive the AI is, and the more things it gets right in a row, the more time it saves, the sort of more you implicitly just feel like relying on it. And then that gets you a full sense of confidence, and bam, this type of thing happens. Now, if you had again, for things like this, it really helps to have an attitude of trying to make sure that the answers are double checked. Because the second I just told it to double check your work, I've got the correct answer and a clear explanation about why it was wrong. So it's not so much that AI isn't good at solving these types of problems. It is amazing at solving these types of problems, but you should just be aware that at every moment, it's always possible to have the most correct sounding solution that just isn't. So somehow just try not to over rely on it. So let's get into the next example. All right, this here was an interesting one, as you can see by my super confused face up above. I was last Saturday programming Space Invaders from scratch using nothing but Copilot chat. And this is something that I actually know how to do. I used to teach this, but I hadn't done it in 2 years. So I was a tad rusty, but I had, a clear idea of what I was doing for the most part, until it came down to trying to sense collisions between bullets and invaders. Now, I'd done this many times. I know at least 3 ways to solve this problem, but Copilot chat suggested a wonderful solution where instead of having to go through every bullet and then every enemy, loop inside a loop to check if they collide, I could just check against lists. I could check if every member of this list collided with every member of that list. Turns out, completely impossible with Pygame. Yes, you could do that in a number of other sort of game design frameworks, not Pygame. Wild Goose Chase took me half an hour. So it took me 35 minutes to get this game to like 75% complete. And then a wild goose chase going absolutely nowhere. And in that same live stream, after I had ditched this idea, I tried to create an explosion of what would happen. Like, you know, if you kill the invader would explode. Now, I had never done that before. At the time, I just thought this would be a great idea. And the way that it handled that problem, again, was really, really unwieldy. It created two classes, one for the explosion. It created an explosion inside a game that happened, like, I can't read the code from here, but you'll have it on your screen, like, on a place that was sort of inside the game canvas, but the explosion wasn't active. And then it created another class for debris of the explosion. What happened in the end was just Frankensteinian. Like, the actual invader would still be there. Its pieces would start getting scattered, but the whole game would freeze as the explosion was happening. Essentially, watching this live stream is going to tell you how not to program with AI. And I've kept it. I'm happy to keep all my failures live in public for learning purposes. However, after getting things so wrong, I took my daughter swimming that morning because I was running late. I came back and I decided to try to programming the game again from scratch. And I did this in a recorded way. And, you know, things went much, much better. This was actually, so I did it on camera for the third try and off camera for the second try. But what I ended up with is, you know, a 50-minute to make a complete Space Invaders game that had really, really nice, smooth graphics and these cool looking explosions. So it turns out, in conclusion, that when you have a very clear idea of what you're doing, when you understand the algorithm of how to achieve what you want to achieve, the AI is going to, first of all, make you faster, but also, like, the code for that Space Invaders game was the best Space Invaders code I'd ever written. I mean, objectively, I saw all of my previous versions. And I could say, like, if you really know what you're doing, AI will improve the speed at which you're doing it and the quality of the final product. However, if you're not sure of the algorithm or the exact thing that you want, the level of risk of things going spectacularly wrong is fairly high. So I guess, you know, I'll try to give you guys an analogy. You know, I remember after the war in Bosnia, nature walks became a thing, but there was a bit of a problem that you really had to stick to the main paths because all the landmines hadn't been cleared yet. So you could have a really, really good experience just walking through these forests and mountains and lakes on these fixed main paths. But if you wandered off, you could literally get blown up. And I think that, you know, coding with AI is at that stage. So it's not, you know, your life isn't at stake. And by all means, experiment and try to do advanced things that you do not understand. I do that as well. But the one thing that, you know, you really need to keep in mind is just do not assume that AI is going to work faster than you would manually, you know, taking on a job, particularly if it involves doing something that you've never done before. It is possible, maybe every third, fourth, fifth project, that AI is just going to wrap you up like a pretzel and confuse you more than you've ever been confused. So just simply budget for that. Now, thinking long term, the more you program with AI, the better you get at it. And also with time, you know, these systems have improved vastly in the last, 6 months. And over the next 6 months to a year, they're going to improve some more. So I would suggest that everybody, programs every day with Copilot, Chat, and GPT-4. It's just, you really need to be aware that every once in a while, things are going to go a whole lot worse than they would have if you hadn't used AI. And if you accept that and sort of just try to manage that risk, I think the end result's going to go really, really well. Anyway, that's sort of my take at present. Love to hear what you think and if you agree with me. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.